My guest today, Jeffrey Adams, is the founder of Micronic Silver, and he's someone that understands the role of silver in healing. And I didn't know this, but actually, in the early 1900s, up until the time when Mr. Rockefeller came in and started really changing things up in our medical system, silver was actually the number one prescribed antibiotic. And so today we have this issue where we're constantly on antibiotics that are destroying our gut biome and leading to all kinds of problems. But the problem ultimately, though, is that a lot of the bacterias and bad things that make us sick are evolving and they're fighting back against these antibiotics. And so what happens if antibiotics no longer work? And so talking about silver, we've used silver in our home for quite some time. We use it for burns and other treatments. And so I'll be very excited to sit down with my guest today, who is an expert on silver and the role that silver has in healing and how it works, the downfalls of silver, how to have it stabilize. Mr. Jeffrey Adam, it is nice to have you on the show. It was wonderful meeting you at the Reawaken tour, where I seem to just meet all these amazing people, and it's great to have you on the show. So thank you for being here with us today.
Oh, it's an honor and a privilege to be on your show and to get the word out there about all natural healing remedies that they really do not want us to know about.
Which is it's an amazing time that we live in because, I just recorded an interview last night about seed oils and tracking the history of seed oils going from, the cottonseed oil and the Procter& and Gamble and Crisco, but then into soybean oil and then all the GMO soybean. And what you find is that there's these really bad things. And as soon as the public finds out about, hey, this is really bad for us, there's another bad thing to replace it. Like, oh, well, okay, well, maybe that's not as good for you, but hey, you know what? Have you tried margarine? Margarine is going to be a great solution instead of Crisco, right? It's the whole bait and switch. But what's happening now is I feel like that whole system is collapsing, and that people are seeing through it, and people are now watching shows like this instead of going to their doctor and saying, "Hey, what script can you give me?" And so I think it's an amazing time that we live in. That there's this. I think we're just at the very beginning of this massive boom in alternative health becoming mainstream health, which is really exciting to me.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the seed oils because we do some work with like the apricot seeds
Oh yeah,
and
Laetrile and B17.
right. But what most people don't know is the average on-market oil by the time you get it is 7 years old and rancid. So when
Wow.
you look at like a lot of the salad dressings and stuff, and people go, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna take this for my diet." No, it's rancid, and the synthetics in there are what's plugging your body up, so you're not absorbing. So the old saying, "You are what you eat," is incorrect. You are what you absorb, and most of us have absorption issues.
Wow. Well, there you go. So I know, so your main thing is silver, and you do a lot of things, but silver is something that, is one of our go-to items in our house, right? So we've got Mike Adams. He had a colloidal silver cream, which, like for a burn, for instance, or a cut, it's the first thing that goes on. And growing up, it was always Neosporin or one of these other products, they're coming out from Big Pharma, which they helped growing up. But now, silver, it's like, oh, this is amazing. I've also heard, I'm not sure you're probably familiar with this, but I had always heard that during, I think it was the Black Plague or one of the earlier plagues, that the people that ate with silver spoons, that used silver, which used to be common, right? So like right now, I drink my water out of a copper water bottle, because of the health benefits of copper. I should probably have a silver one, except it'd probably be, $500 for a silver water bottle, and someone would steal it probably. But so, so okay, well, first, before we jump into just kind of like the big tell all about silver and what it does, and how is it that just this metal that you're wearing around your wrist is also this amazing healing thing. Walk us through your story of how you got into to basically understanding and kind of creating products around silver, because before we started recording, you gave me a little bit of background, and it's not your typical, oh, I was a lab scientist and I discovered this, and I found out that I could heal something in mice and I developed a product based on it. It wasn't that at all. So just kind of walk us through your background and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, that it was not a track that I saw coming. So I had a construction company in Chicago for about 38 years. And in 2007, when the economy collapsed, I mean, literally, there was about 75 to 80% unemployment in Chicago. I didn't sell a project for 3 years, so I took a job implementing the high speed 4G high speed wireless in Chicago. And when you install some of the equipment, you had to go to some of the high-rise buildings and put the repeaters on the top and stuff. And while I was there, it was about a month-long project. It was a penthouse overlooking Lake Michigan on Lakeshore Drive. And the gentleman in the penthouse was a nuclear level biochemical engineer. He said he was one of 8 in the world. He had over 180 patents on medical type devices. And a fascinating man. He was around 80 years old, and I had to go through his condo or apartment to get on the roof. And I'd come in there and he would have his laptop open with like 40 windows, and he's over there just doing calculations between them. And I always say he probably forgot more than I'll ever know in my life. I mean, this man was absolutely brilliant, was also a narcissist and had no sense of humor. But it was really interesting. And during the course of the project there, I had gotten pneumonia. And it was the 4th time in 6 years getting pneumonia. And because I live in the suburbs, if I left at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock because of traffic, I'd get home at the same time. So I found this man really interesting. And so I'd talk to him for about an hour before I went home. And the one day that I got pneumonia, I told him, I said, listen, I can't talk to you today. I can't stay afterwards. I got to get to the hospital. I got pneumonia. It's in both lungs. And he's like, pulls out a little bottle of clear liquid and said, well, here, take this and your lungs won't hurt you in the morning. And that's where the contractor me kicked in because I was so brilliant. Yeah, I said, I argued with him for 20 minutes. But oh no, I've had this before. I got to get to the doctors and stuff. And he's like, well, how do you know it's pneumonia? And I said, well, I've had it before in both lungs. And um, he said, well, I'll take this product. And he handed it to me. And like I said, I argued with him. And then he grabbed it out of my hand. He said, took it away. He said, okay, you're so smart. Go to the doctors, be like everybody else. Let them kill you. The world's better off without you anyway, with your limited thinking. And he walked away. And about an hour later, he comes up to me and he goes, do you know how people die from pneumonia? And me being the intelligent person I am, I go, well, yeah, it's in the lungs. And he goes, in the lungs. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's, it just gets in your lungs. I'm asthmatic, so I kind of know what it's like. And he goes, do you know why people die from pneumonia? And I thought I answered that question, but it made me think. So one of my favorite comedians was Bernie Mac. And so all the money you could ever want, he died from pneumonia. And that popped in my head instantly. And I said, well, I guess not. And he said, there's 7 medicines that work on pneumonia, and 4 of them are different compilations of the same medicine, are ineffective within 7 years of each other. So when you look at penicillin, amoxicillin, zimycin, erythromycin, those are ineffective within 7 years of each other. So by the time you get it the 3rd year, it becomes critical, and the 4th year it becomes terminal because there's no medicines that'll work on it. And he walked away from me. And now I'm left going, okay, I'm a contractor, so I can count 4 times in 6 years. So no medicine's going to work on it. So after about an hour, I went back to him and said, you know what, I'll try it. And he's like, I'm not wasting it on you. You're like everybody else. It's going to sit on your counter. You're never going to take it. The world's better off without you. So go to your doctors, do your little thing. And I said, oh no, get a spoon. I'll take it right here in front of you. Because if I take it in front of you, I'll take it at home. And it was this question that actually spurred him to give me that. And he goes, you're not going to ask what it tastes like. And I was like, I don't care what it tastes like. I know what's in store for me with the doctors. 6 weeks of prednisone, 6 weeks of Z-Packs, 3 months to get, my breathing back or my lungs back under me. And I said, no, I know. So he got it, the liquid. He gave me a spoon. I took it, and he told me how to take it. Literally the next day, my lungs were clear. And that was over a weekend. So by Monday, it was completely gone. I mean, I had no signs of whatsoever. And I went back to work on Monday, and I told him, I said, this stuff's amazing. You got to get it out there. I said, the world needs to know about it. He's like, no, he says, they'll kill you. I'm like, they, he goes, Big Pharma, they don't want it to have it. He goes, he goes, if it was stabilized, it would be the best product in the world, but it's unstable. It's like you, it doesn't get along with anything. Silver reacts with light, heat, temperature, barometric pressure, 2 degrees temperature difference. You got a different product. He goes, it's unstable. So I'm like, okay, well, I kind of left it at that. 6 months later, I called him again. It's like, he showed me how to make it. And he said everybody was making it wrong. He makes it different because he was better than everybody else. I don't think it was because he was smarter. He just felt better. And I started making it and having great results. And I was like, other than the killing you thing, I mean, can't you stabilize it? And he goes, I've been trying my whole life. He goes, it doesn't want to get along with anything. It doesn't want to work. He said, it's perfect for you because you don't get along with anybody either. And I was like, okay. So that started a journey of about a year to a year and a half, where started studying, get as much research as we can. And my partner, Michelle, she had went to Israel, and she said she was at the Wailing Wall praying, and the verse "Life is in the blood" kept coming up to her. Well, she had called me, and I just got on my computer because that verse came into my head. And I was like, I need to know more about blood and hemoglobin and how it works. And so when she called me, it was like, we need to start learning about blood. And I'm like, I just got on a computer to do that. So that whole year was learning about molecules of hemoglobin, how they work in the body, the immune system, the white blood cells versus red blood cells, the stem cells or the fibroblast cells, which are the precursor. I mean, so I know I learned a lot about blood. Didn't seem to go anywhere at that point. But Michelle went back to Israel the next year later, and she was at the Wailing Wall again, same scenario. This time it was with ozone. And I just got on, I started, I heard about ozone, and something just spurred me to get on a computer and start researching it. And she called me and goes, there's nobody around me here. She goes, I'm praying. And Jeff, I could swear somebody's standing right next to me going, you need to look at ozone. And I was like, I just got started on that. So about the next 6 months, we studied it. And then I called this gentleman back and I said, I think I figured out how to stabilize silver using ozone. And he just laughed at me. He goes, don't waste my time. It makes sense you would choose ozone because it's like silver, it doesn't want to get along with anything. You three are perfect combinations. And I was like, okay, so that didn't go anywhere. Well, about 6 months later, he called me back and he said, I think I figured out how to stabilize silver. And I was like, really? Well, great. How was that? And he said, using ozone. And I kind of leaned back in my chair and I'm like, okay, I remember a conversation we had about 6 months ago where I approached you and said we could use ozone to stabilize silver. And you said not to waste your time. And he literally said to me, he goes, you might as well said peanut butter because you didn't even know what ozone was. I'm like, okay, so it'll work. Great, let's do it. And he said, no, no, no. He said, see, that's the problem with people like you. You just want to go do things. It's a theory. You have to rationalize the theory, validate the theory, prove the theory. He goes, then you have to figure a way to make it or create it, and then you got to test it. He goes, this is going to be expensive. I don't have that kind of money. Do you? And I'm like, I've got a little bit of money. What are you talking about? And he goes, $7,000. I'm like, okay. So I literally cut him a check for $10,000. I drive, I must have been doing 100 miles an hour down the expressway. I get to his house. He rings the doorbell. I got a big smile on my face and I go, here. And I stick a check for $10,000 in front of his face. And he looks at the check and he looks at me and he looks at the check and he looks at me and he goes, are you dumb or hard of hearing? And I'm thinking, oh my God, did you say 70,000? And I go, you said 7,000. He goes, does this look like $7,000? Are you that wealthy where you can throw money away? You're going to be a horrible businessman. And I'm like, well, you know what? $3,000. If you need to buy something, buy it. I said, if you want to pay yourself for your time, pay yourself. I don't care, but we need to know this works. And he goes, well, that's ridiculous. I could buy $3,000 worth of gumballs. And I was like, well, that would explain your dentures. And it's really interesting because we went through that 7 times, which 7 is a number of divinity. But we literally had that same conversation over and over about 7 times. And finally, the one day he's like, okay, it'll work. And I'm like, well, great, let's do it. He goes, no, you don't run off and do stuff like this. He goes, I said it'll work, but the machinery to do what we need to do doesn't exist. And he goes, I can't build it. And I'm like, well, I was a contractor for 38 years. I can build anything. So we got together and I built the machinery and the process for making what's called micronic silver. So it is literally different than colloidal silver, ionic, and nano silver, where ours is the only organically stabilized silver on the planet. We don't add any chemicals to it. We just restructure the ion, getting to create ozone in itself. We start off by restructuring the water, changing the hydrogen bond angle of the water, and manipulate it to get it to do what we want it to do. And it actually turned out better than we could have ever imagined.
Ladies and gentlemen, our world is being poisoned. Every day we're exposed to more chemicals sprayed into our skies, leaching into our food, and polluting our air and water. From pesticides and heavy metals to hormone disruptors and synthetic additives, these toxins are bombarding our bodies and silently destroying our health. But there's something you can do to fight back, and it starts in your gut. Kimchi One from Brightcore Nutrition contains over 900 strains of beneficial probiotics that will help flush toxins, restore gut balance, and support your immune system. Because when your gut is strong, your body can resist. You'll feel the difference. Better digestion, more energy, clearer thinking, stronger immunity, and even improvements in your skin, hair, and metabolism. And this isn't just hype. Studies show that fermented foods like kimchi can reduce the risk of obesity, improve blood sugar, and support whole body wellness. Kimchi One is all natural, non GMO, dairy free, gluten free, and 100% made in the USA by a company that actually cares about your health. And today, you can get an exclusive offer just for my viewers, 25% off with your code MANINAMERICA by clicking the link below. Or call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and free shipping. So give them a call now at 888-575-6488, and their educated staff will make sure that Kimchi One is right for you. Again, that's 888-575-6488. All the links and information are in the description below.